Attention.
Let's talk for a second. Higher ed is moving fast, and not everything we're doing is keeping pace. Either you move with the future, or you get left behind. Insights EDU is where leaders find out what actually works. February 17th to 19th in Fort Lauderdale. Register at insightsedu.com.
Attention.
It's time to register for Lucian Live, April 19th through 22nd, 2026 in Denver, Colorado, advancing infinite possibilities. And it's higher education without limits. Don't just keep up with change, lead it. Higher ed leaders from around the world are coming together at Lucian Live 2026. Across 4 unforgettable days, you'll discover new ways to meet students where they are and make the most of your technology through inspiring sessions and hands-on demos. Together, we're leveraging AI to create deeper human connections, support every student's journey, and open doors to lifelong learning. See you in Denver. Register now at elive.elucian.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience, and we are back on another episode. And I'm excited to have my first-time guest co-host. She is Paige Keller. She's the Vice President of Academic Relations at NAC. Paige, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm well, Elvin. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. So real quick, can you just kind of let the folks know who you are and what you do real quick?
Okay, sure. Paige Keller, as Elvin said, I'm the Vice President of Academic Relations at NAC. I come to NAC I joined NAC about 3 years ago after having worked in higher education for 25 years, where my focus was on learning assistance and peer education. And that's
okay.
who I...
All right. Thank you for that, Paige. We appreciate that. So let me get our first-time guest here. Very exciting to have her here. She is Dr. Ann I knew I was going to get it wrong.
DeLeyva.
You see what happened, Ann? I practiced DeLeyva. Did I get it right, Ann?
Yes, you did. Beautiful.
Okay. Dr. Ann DeLeyva. She's the president at Binghamton University. Ann, thank you so much for being with us. How you doing today?
It is just a pleasure to be here with you. Thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely. And so really excited to talk to you. And tell us all about what you do and how do you do it?
Absolutely. So for me, this is day 2 of week 3 as president of Binghamton University. So it is so exciting to be here. It's an honor and a privilege to lead SUNY Binghamton, which is one of the great public universities in the SUNY system, and of course, one of the great public universities in the country. So right now, I'm very busy getting to know everyone. So it has been delightful. I'm on a listening tour called Listening to Lead and meeting different constituencies around campus, which has been just wonderful. I've received a very warm welcome, and I'm plunging into the work. And one of the wonderful things about this role as president of the university is that I get to dedicate myself to higher education, and I am passionate about higher education as a force for good in our nation and in our world. And I get to support all of the wonderful people at Binghamton in the work that they are doing. Our students, our faculty, our staff, and even our broader alumni community, our economic partners, our community partners. So it has been a great experience so far.
Fantastic. Thanks for letting us know, Ann. And before I pass it over to Paige, I have a follow-up question. Something I've always been curious about is when you're hired and the board gives you a mandate, usually they say, hey, this is what we want you to focus on. I don't know if you can share that. If you can't, don't worry, it's fine. But I'd love to know. I'm just curious, what do they want, and why do you think you're the right person to do what they want you to do?
So there is a mandate. That's right. So as a great public university, we are a Research One university. So we drive research and are highly engaged in research, and especially as a public university, research that positively impacts our communities and our economy. We are all about access and opportunity for students. That is one of the most important things that we do at Binghamton. Is you may know that we've been designated as a public Ivy. We, according to Forbes, are on their top 25 list of public universities, and to make an education of this quality available to students in New York and beyond, many of whom are first generation and Pell eligible. That's at the heart of our mission. And then it's community engagement and economic development that rounds out our mission as a great public university. And so that is something that throughout the interview process and in my discussions with SUNY's great board of trustees, these are things that we talked about extensively.
Fantastic. Over to you, Paige.
Thanks so much, Elvin. And I am so excited to talk to President DeLeyva today. And your leadership journey spans so many important areas of higher education. And I'm hoping that we'll have time during our short period of time together today to explore a few of these themes that feel especially timely. I think that each of the areas I want to discuss with you align with both your impact and the challenges all institutions are navigating right now. So I really am grateful for the chance to dig into them together.
Great. Looking forward to it.
Thank you. I would love to start with student success and accessibility, which you've already alluded to. I always come back to this one truth that when institutions invest in the whole student, their well-being, their basic needs, their sense of belonging, everything becomes possible. And your leadership has consistently demonstrated that student success is not a single office or a single initiative, but more of a shared institutional commitment. And I'd love to start there.
Absolutely. So, this is something I'm very passionate about student success. And student success, we often talk about holistic student success, right? So, student academic success emerges from the whole person, right? And this means students have to have a sense of belonging on campus, a sense of mattering to the campus community. They need to have housing security, food security, transportation security, financial security, right? These are the building blocks of student success. I often say that the academic success is actually the last thing to drop into place. And we can deal with that, right? So if a student is struggling in a class, if they're having trouble with a subject, we have all sorts of forces we can mobilize to help, right? So we can get tutoring in place and peer-to-peer mentoring and all sorts of resources. But these other components around health and wellness and security in all dimensions of their experience have to be there in order for that student to flourish.
It's like Maslow's hierarchy, but
That's
with an
right.
education focus. Absolutely.
That's right. That is exactly what it is. So we need to make sure that foundation is strong. And as you say, it's collaboration across divisions at the university. So it's about academic affairs and student affairs working together to make sure our students have that safety net. And the problem for us, I often will say this, that if we provide a student with just one resource, right, then they're clinging on to that like a rope and trying to survive and slipping down that rope. When we put multiple supports in place, that's a safety net under that student, and we will always catch them and make sure that they can bounce up and succeed. So getting those multiple supports in place is absolutely essential.
That is incredible. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you created a vice provost for student success role. Is that correct?
Yes. So when I came to Binghamton from the University of Connecticut, where I served as provost and executive vice president for academic affairs, and one of the things I did was to reorganize that office to focus on student success. And I created the position of vice provost for student success and brought a wonderful person into the position, one of our professional staff who had, in fact, been leading our college access programs and doing a brilliant job, very innovative colleague. And so we pulled together some of those resources so that they could be in conversation with the academic side of the house, because the student experience is stronger when you have everything from, the academic support centers, the Center for Students with Disabilities, the cultural centers, all working together and then talking to the deans, the schools and colleges that also report to the provost's office. So we were able to create powerful collaborations to support student success. And that's a vision and a model that I see in action here at Binghamton, a real concern for holistic student success and something that I'm looking forward to supporting as president.
That is incredible. And I suppose that other institutions can learn from building that same type of integrated structure. And for folks listening now, or whenever they listen to this podcast, I think that that's exactly what they will be thinking about, whether they have that same intentionally linked wellness and academic and just all of the pieces put together on their campuses.
It is a way that we're working now that I think is very different. So when I started my career 20 years ago, we weren't talking this way about student success. And these things were happening, but they were happening um, not in an intentional way necessarily, and not in a very comprehensive way. But more and more universities and colleges are putting this kind of vice provost position into place, creating a student success focus in the provost's office to then connect to the academic side of the house, our deans, our department chairs. And it is a very powerful way of working. It truly benefits our students.
It really does. At my previous institution, that is exactly the role they created for the person to whom I reported. In the provost's office, they shifted the title from a vice president role to an associate provost of student success role, and they're seeing that same thing. That's incredible.
Yes, very impactful.
It is. And on that same note of collaboration, one thing that I appreciate about your work is how you've championed innovation, not just as a buzzword, but really as a way to meaningfully expand what students can learn and create. And you've consistently pushed for collaboration across disciplines, something higher ed often talks about, but executes far less.
Yes, and that is something I'm very passionate about. My own work is very, as a scholar and a teacher, is very interdisciplinary. I'm an art historian by training, but I also, as a graduate student, worked in gender studies. My appointment at the University of Connecticut was a joint appointment between art history and women's gender and sexuality studies. My work also has a lot to do with cultural anthropology. So it is my own orientation to the work. And what I find as an academic leader is that we need to really listen to and follow the faculty and the students on this. And where we see these kinds of collaborations driven organically by student and faculty interest, by the problems that they're trying to address. When we see that as academic administrators, we then need to reach in and amplify and support that. And I can give you an example from the University of Connecticut when I was dean of the School of Fine Arts. We had a lot of students coming over from the College of Engineering to get involved in the arts, either as performers doing a studio art degree or a studio art minor, but especially wanting to work in our shops in the theater department.
Mhm.
And so we decided to embrace this, right? And so I like to say with this collaboration, we followed the grooves in the sidewalk that were created by the students crossing campus to come over and get involved.
Mhm.
And so we created a collaboration between the School of Fine Arts and the College of Engineering to foster work in STEAM, right? STEM plus the arts, and have had wonderful collaborations there. And I was delighted coming to Binghamton to see many of the same kind of organic collaborations in place. And in fact, one of the things on my listening tour that faculty and students have been really adamant about supporting and growing is interdisciplinary collaboration. And I fully believe that the grand challenges that we are facing in health, in public health, in education, in climate, are going to be solved not by a single person in a single discipline sitting in a room, but by multiple disciplines coming together, bringing multiple perspectives to tackle the big challenges that we face. And our great public universities are a great place to tackle those challenges.
So, do you see interdisciplinary programs like these shaping the next decade or more of higher education?
Absolutely. And I think it's about, to me, it's always about the vertical and the horizontal, right? So I'm an art historian. I'm a very visual thinker. right? So what everyone needs is that deep dive within that's the vertical, right? That training within a discipline, the deep training to learn how to ask questions, to inquire, to do research and scholarship within a particular discipline. But then you need to be to the horizontal stretch as well. You need to be able to reach out to other disciplines, to have conversations, discussions, collaborations, research across fields, right? So everyone needs that, right? And you can see how that, again, that makes a stronger structure, right? The strongest structure isn't just a horizontal will just fall flat. A vertical will tip over, but you interconnect verticals and horizontals and you get a really strong lattice structure. And that's what we're looking to build.
See, you made it visual for me. I'm sure you are an excellent art history professor because now I'm seeing it. I'm picturing that. Now, the way I look at it too, and I imagine you do as well, is that educating students in this way helps to create a more educated citizenry as well. And how does
Yes.
that impact our community?
That's right. So we can't forget that part of the purpose of public education is to create not only people who are highly trained in specific fields, our engineers, our physicians, our nurses, our teachers, our musicians, but it's also to create well rounded and well informed citizens. This is where general education is so important. This is something unique to American higher education that students come in and they are still experiencing multiple disciplines through general education as they come into the university. And that then informs everything that they do. So, our return on investment when we educate our students for that student isn't only a career and career preparation. Of course, it is that. But beyond that, it is the knowledge and the ability to have a well rounded life, to be an active citizen, to drive change in the world. And this is who we want our students to be. And we know that this works. We know that from the survey data that people with a degree have not only greater career prospects and greater earnings over their lifetime, they have better health, they have better relationships, they have better life satisfaction. So we need to look at the tangible and intangible return on investment of a college degree. And this, to circle back to access and opportunity, this is why access and opportunity are so critically important. We want everyone to have this chance.
I could not agree more. I'm the product of a liberal arts education from my undergrad degree, and I feel as though when I'm talking with young people, whether it's people in my family or at my previous institution, and they're considering what they want to major in, I say that's not the most important part, and that's exactly what you are saying, and I love it. Now, I'd like to sort of transition a bit into your leadership style. And when you think about the different, you've helped advance major initiatives like in AI and in quantum technologies and cross-campus research clusters, from arts to human rights. And how do you, as a leader, evaluate which emerging areas are worth the institutional investment and the long-term focus?
Let's go
to insightsedu.com. Remember that URL, because let's be honest, how much of what you're doing at work right now is actually working? It's time to inject fresh ideas and effective strategies. And Insights EDU is for these leaders that want to see results. The conversations are direct, the sessions are outstanding, and the people in the room are there to solve real problems, not protect the status quo. Insights EDU 2026 is February 17 to 19 in Fort Lauderdale. No fluff, no recycled playbooks, just what works now. Register today at insightsedu.com. Ellucian Live 2026 is taking place April 19th through 22nd, 2026 in Denver, Colorado. Advancing infinite possibilities. Turn innovation into action with AI-powered solutions, student-first strategies, and a global network of fellow leaders at Ellucian Live 2026, higher education's premier global technology conference. It's going to be
Amazing!
One of the things that I love about being an academic leader is that I am constantly learning. And one of my great mentors, former president at the University of Connecticut, used to say that she never wanted to be the smartest person in the room, right? So gathering the best and brightest minds at the university around me, talking to them, inquiring, reaching out to industry, reaching out to communities, being an academic leader is a process of constant learning, right? And so this is how I learn about what is the cutting edge? What are the problems we need to be preparing to solve and to address? What's the work we want our students to be doing, not tomorrow, but 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now? So that future mindset, that always learning and always growing and changing, that is absolutely fundamental to academic leadership.
Your leadership journey really has been groundbreaking and deeply people centered from what I've gathered. And I would assume that you feel the same way about it. And you've led at scale and you've navigated complex academic structures, but you've still kept an eye on the human experience of faculty and staff and students. So I'd love to dig into your approach to leading large and evolving institutions.
Mhm. And this is one of the, again, the great challenges of being an academic leader, especially in large public universities like the University of Connecticut or Binghamton, which is smaller than UConn, but still a large place with many faculty, staff, and students and many relationships. Um, you said it exactly. I am very people centric. So one of the most important things to me is to bring um, not only that attitude of inquiry, but an attitude of respect to everyone that I deal with, right? So deep respect to everyone who works here. Everyone is part of the mission, and everyone is part of making this place happen and making this place successful. To our faculty, to our students, our professional staff, our non professional staff. Everyone is part of the mission. So it's an attitude of respect. I prioritize collaboration. I prioritize generosity, right? So it's not enough to say, okay, I'm over here in my school or college and I really know how to do, you know, um, peer mentoring or alumni mentoring or build new academic programs. So I'm going to sit over here and just know how to do that myself. Reach out to your peers, help another dean, help another department chair, be a good mentor, pay it forward. And so that attitude of connection and generosity is really important to me, that attitude of listening and learning. I believe in giving people a lot of autonomy, right? Making space for autonomy and ownership in doing their work. I firmly believe that as human creatures, we do our best work when we are autonomous. But that goes alongside collaboration and then also accountability. When you have autonomy, you have to also have accountability. And so that sense of responsibility to each other and to the organization is absolutely essential.
You've mentioned your listening tour a couple of times, and you are, let me make sure I have this right, you're on day 2 of week 3 in your role at Binghamton. How long will your listening tour last? Will it ever end?
So I think that's a really good question. So the formal listening tour will end. Does the listening tour ever really end? I think the answer there is no. Um, so we are having a great time. I'm enjoying my listening tour thoroughly. I am getting out and meeting different constituencies at the university in the community. We'll start engaging with alumni as well. We have events planned around the country. I have a consistent set of questions that I'm asking each group. So this isn't just about me talking to people. It's not a meet and greet, right? So I will introduce myself. I have questions that I ask the group. I expect that we have a lot of dialogue, which is great. And then I also take questions from the group. We take notes on every, I have someone from the president's office comes with me, takes notes on every meeting. We have a blog post. I write a blog post for every meeting that happens. We put out the results on social media as well. You'll see postings on Instagram and LinkedIn, because the idea is that we are building a conversation across the university. What are we doing well? What should Binghamton be known for? What are the differentiators here? What do we do better and differently than anybody else? If we were going to invest, where should we invest to have impact, right? These are the questions that I'm asking. And so we are building a collective picture, not only of what the university is now, but what the university can be.
I love that you write blog posts for every single one. That's incredible. That's wonderful. I'll have to look those up.
Yes, right
And
on the president's webpage. And this makes it public and transparent and accessible. And these conversations don't just go off into the ether, right? They become part of the foundation of the work that we do.
I love that. Now, you were the first woman to serve as provost at UConn, and you are the second woman to serve as president at Binghamton, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. How have those experiences shaped your leadership philosophy? Your leadership
Yeah.
philosophy?
So, it has been I'm very, very honored that I served as the first woman provost at the University of Connecticut for actually the second woman president at UConn. So women right now are breaking those glass ceilings, right? And coming to Binghamton and being the second woman to serve as president. And I am passionate about removing barriers, right? We want to make sure that we are bringing people from many perspectives and many walks of life and many experiences into leadership, because we are stronger through diversity. And so it is very important to break those barriers down, barriers of all kinds. And we also then all need to pay it forward, right? So I have been so privileged to have so many wonderful mentors who have supported me along the way. And it's important for me then to be a good mentor and to support others who are going to break other kinds of barriers, right? Whether they are barriers of various kinds of identity or experience or even discipline. I was so honored that President Radenka Merrick at UConn chose me as her provost because I'm an art historian. And often presidents will go to someone from STEM or business to be a provost. So I was really honored that she said someone from the humanities with a background in the arts, can do this work and is the right person for us right now. So there are many different kinds of barriers that we need to break down and need to open up our thinking.
And on this topic of art history, and Elvin, I've got a couple of questions left, if that's okay with you. You have maintained, Anne, an active scholarly profile in art history while also serving in these major executive roles. How do you stay connected to your academic roots, and how does that also help inform your leadership?
So, it's so interesting that you're asking me this, because I was meeting with a group of students the other day here at Binghamton as part of student leaders, as part of the listening tour. And the student had a very perceptive question, because she said, "You're an art historian. Do you use your art history background on a daily basis in your work as an administrator?" And I loved that she asked that question, and that you're asking a similar question now. So for me, art history and the humanities broadly provide wonderful training in observation and analysis, right? So it is a different kind of analysis than, say, the scientific method, but it is analysis um, of culture and history, of place and time, analysis of human action, and that ability to analyze and to understand um, people and phenomenon in context is enormously helpful on a daily basis. And I will frequently find myself in a meeting saying things like, well, let's take a step back and look at this, whatever it is, this interaction, this problem, this budget. Let's take a step back and look at this in context. That comes right out of my art history training. I wish I could stay more active than I am right now as a scholar. It's difficult to find the time, I will say, to both spend those wonderful hours in museums and in archives doing my art history, and also, devoting myself to my position in the way that I need to. But the nice thing about art history is that it's possible to stay connected in what I think of as small bites, writing a small piece or engaging with a museum exhibition. And I really thoroughly enjoy doing that.
Now, this will be my last question, but this, I think, ties all of this up nicely and allows you the opportunity to share some nuggets of wisdom with folks who might be wanting to follow in your footsteps. So, given everything you've seen, the wins, the challenges, the ever changing needs of students, what guidance would you offer young academics and rising leaders in entering higher education today?
So I would say ignore the noise and follow your heart. Um, that I often say, people who come and work in higher education are mission driven people. We are all here. And I remember we were dealing with a tough challenge at UConn, and I was with my leadership team. And I just said, look, we're all here because we're mission driven people. We're here because we care. Nobody goes into higher education because they don't care. They care passionately about their discipline. They care passionately about teaching. They care passionately about the impact of research and scholarship. They want to make a difference in students' lives and the lives of our communities, right? So stay true to that. Stay true to that sense of mission and values and impact. And that will help you get through the challenging times. And there are challenging times right now. Nationally, there are doubts being expressed about the value not only of an education for the individual, but higher education more broadly. And again, I would suggest people take a step back and look at the history and impact of higher education over the past 100 years and more, because if you look at all of the major advancements that humanity has made over the past 100 years and more, I would argue that American higher education has been at the heart of those changes, driving change and driving benefit for humanity. So stay true to your heart, stay true to your mission and values, and everything else will work out.
Ignore the noise and follow your heart. That's what I'm carrying with me today, and I imagine our listeners are too. Elvin?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Great questions there, Paige. And before I get to my last question, I do have to ask because we barely talked about it, and I'm sure, you know where I'm going. Hopefully, AI. What's the AI? What's your AI? I like to ask it like, what's your AI story? What is Binghamton doing? What are your thoughts on
Yeah.
AI? Just tell us your story.
That's great. So Binghamton is doing some fantastic work in AI. We have some cutting edge work going on AI in society and understanding the societal impacts of AI, which is really exciting cutting edge work. And we will be investing in this work and expanding our AI footprint in research and scholarship in the coming months. I think we all need to figure out this technology, right? And we need to figure it out in higher ed in several ways. We need to figure it out, not only the research that we need to do in our research agendas, and that's one piece of it. AI in the classroom, in teaching and learning. How do we teach our students to use AI productively and not in a negative way? How can AI be a resource for our faculty in their teaching and benefit them in their teaching? AI in the higher education workplace. How can we leverage AI? We never have enough people. We never to do the work. We're always stretched thin in higher ed. So how can we find, productivity in AI? These are the grand challenges that we face right now. And I think instead of being afraid, higher ed needs to lead, and we need to lean into this work and help show the way, not only through the research we do, but also showing how in teaching and learning in the workplace we can make AI a productive tool.
Yeah, no, I love that. You see, it sounds like you are definitely leaning in, which is great because I've been doing the podcast for a while. We've been basically chronicling AI in higher education since it got with us a couple of years ago. And so there you have your fractures. You know this, Ann, better than I do. Someone leaving company in, something like, we're going back to blue books and we don't want AI. But then the workforce is like, we need to hire people that know how to do AI. So they said that, what are you going to do there? So what are your thoughts about the workforce and then the students and academic integrity? What are your thoughts about that?
That's right. So, and it is very interesting because, thinking back, a few years ago when some of the large language models became more widely available, right? Um, there was an immediate kind of reaction where, honestly, faculty said, I don't want this. I don't want anything to do with this, right? There was a very negative reaction to AI in teaching and learning. And understandably, I think people didn't know how to use it productively. So there was, this real feeling. And then to your point, um, our industries and our employers came to us and said, hey, we need you to be graduating students who are AI literate and understand how to use AI productively. So we really had to shift gears. And one of the most important things we can do is to provide the training and support to both faculty and students so everyone knows how to use this tool productively. And that's work that we're doing right now and investing in.
Okay, yeah, that's great because I'm hearing that a lot too. Is the training of faculty, which goes down to the students and how to use it ethically and the guardrails and all that stuff. So
That's
great
right.
to hear, Ann. That's fantastic. So last question, Ann, and I can't wait to get your response. You kind of hinted at it a little bit earlier, but that's okay. But what do you see as the future of higher education, Ann?
So I am very excited about the future of higher education. We are we are a force for good in this world, and American higher education leads the world. And this is why students from around the globe want to come here, dream of coming here for an education, right? So I think we need to make sure we're making the case to the broader public about the value of what we do, that what we do impacts everybody. The research that we do on cancer or Alzheimer's or dyslexia, these are things that benefit everybody, right? So we need to make that case better than we have. I think we need to be prepared in higher education to evolve more rapidly. So we are not built for rapid change in higher education. We are deliberative, right? We are thoughtful, and the world is evolving very rapidly. And because of technology, the pace of change is accelerating. Um, and so I think one of the great challenges for a higher ed is to figure out how to stay true to ourselves and who we are as deliberative educational institutions, but to be able to be more nimble when we need to be, and that's a real challenge for us. It is a bit of a culture shift, and I think that's one of the challenges we need to tackle within higher education moving forward.
Yeah, and based on this conversation, Ann, you are definitely the one that's going to do that at Binghamton and beyond in higher education. So it's been a great conversation. Thank you so much. First, I want to outro my guest co-host. She's Paige Keller. She's the Vice President of Academic Relations at NAC. Paige, thank you so very much for being with us today.
Thank you, Elvin, for inviting me. And Anne, what a nice conversation. Thank you so much for the time.
Paige, thank you so much. It was just delightful. And Elvin, thank you so much. I have enjoyed myself so much. I appreciate your support for higher education and your passion for higher education. So thank you.
Thank you, Ann. And let me outro you properly. She's Dr. Ann DeLeva. Come on, I got it right. DeLeva, yes. President at Binghamton University. Thank you so much, Ann, for being with us. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp'd.
Be honest with yourself for a second. How much of what you're doing at work right now is actually working? That question came up again and again in Insights EDU last year. You guys already know this isn't your typical higher ed conference. And I've got to be honest, I've been to a lot of higher ed events, and Insights EDU is just different. The conversations are direct, the sessions are outstanding, and the people in the room are there to fix real problems, not defend the status quo. That's why Insights EDU 2026 matters. It's 3 days in Fort Lauderdale, February 17 to 19, focusing on real strategy for higher ed. No fluff, no recycled playbooks, just what works now. You can keep wasting time with what feels safe, or you can get in the room where smarter decisions are being made. Register today at insightsedu.com.
You just made the list!
Lucian Live 2026, April 19th through 22nd in beautiful Denver, Colorado, advancing infinite possibilities. And it's higher education without limits. Don't just keep up with change, lead it. Higher education leaders from around the world are coming together at Lucian Live 2026. Across 4 unforgettable days, discover new ways to meet students where they are and make the most of your technology through inspiring sessions and hands-on demos. Together, we're leveraging AI to create deeper human connections, support every student's journey, and open doors to lifelong learning. See you in Denver. Register now at elive.elucian.com. It's going to be
Amazing!